Hello and welcome to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. We get curious about all things gender, sex, and sexuality, as well as relationships, feminism, the inclusive kind, mental health and kink, and all that makes us humans unique and diverse. From body positivity to body dysmorphia, it's all welcome here. Come with us on a journey of inclusion, acceptance, and respect. I'm your host, Esther Lemons. I identify as a cisgender woman, and my pronouns are she and her. In this episode, I'm speaking to ALF RAVN, a Danish tiny house living minimalist training to become a circus artist. ALF's pronouns are they and them. They are transgender and identify as agender and non-binary. Find out what that means to ALF in this episode. We also talk about observing gender from a distance, the obstacles on their transition journey, hormone imbalances and the effects they can have, and asking the question, what makes a man and a woman a woman? It was recorded on the 15th of December 2020. Now let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome. What's your name?
Hello, my name is Alf.
Hello, Alf. It's really funny because when you announced recently on Facebook that you changed your name and pronouns, because we know each other through Human Library,
Yes.
I was reminded of have you ever seen the series Alf, with the alien?
I've heard about it and I've seen some pictures of he looks kind of like a pig but brown, right?
Yeah, he's kind of a mixture of,
Like a little creature thingy.
yeah.
Yeah, I've seen pictures and I've heard I shouldn't watch it.
See, I don't even know why I said that, but I guess I could ask you, what made you choose the name Alf? What was the
Oh,
inspiration?
okay. So it's in a way it's a long story, so I can so first of all, I've changed my name before, so I was born as a girl and then I changed my name as 19-year-old and then now again as a almost 26-year-old. I turned 26 this month. And the name Elf has been in my life for a very long time actually. So I remember I considered changing my name to Elf many years ago, which in Denmark is only registered as a boy's name. So I couldn't actually get it back then.
Really?
But then, yeah, in that period of my life, I had two people relatively close to me that had this name. So I was like, but it's going to be confusing because we're so many.
Yeah.
Which is weird because it's a quite rare name, I think, in Denmark.
Mm.
But yeah, so one of the people are not in my life anymore, and the other one changed their name. So
Oh, wow.
it's mine. Yeah, I really wanted it for so many years, and now I think it's perfect timing for me.
Awesome. That's so cool. So that was a slightly different intro than usual, because what I normally ask is, how do you identify Alf?
So I very recently changed my pronouns from he him to they them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so new that I'm not even used to call myself them or they. I think I did it 2 weeks ago. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so so
Mm-hmm.
as I said, I was born female. I
Mm-hmm.
transitioned like a relatively stereotypical transition, FTM, female to male. But in that process, always identified gender neutral. But back
Mm.
then, it was just easier to do it the way people would understand. So when I was, I think 15, maybe 16, I already identified as at least transgender, but also as agender. But I didn't know anyone else, not even anybody who was transgender. So introducing agender to my friends and family, that was just not an option. And
Mm.
I tried actually. So I introduced it and I said, okay, so you can use my name instead of saying a pronoun, and maybe you can think of me as a group of people. Then it's easier to say they or them. But it never happened. I introduced it, I tried it for a couple of months, and then I just said, okay, whatever, you can just call me he, because people
Mm.
would get that. So I just rolled with that since I was, yeah, about, I would say 16 until now when I'm 26.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, in Danish, obviously, because You're from Denmark.
Yes.
In Danish, how hard is it to use gender neutral pronouns? Because in English, it's kind of simple. I mean, they, them, the singular they has been
Ah,
used for a long time, even though people don't think so and they find it confusing,
yeah,
which is fair enough. Takes some getting used to. But still,
yeah, yeah.
it is quite an easy to use gender neutral term. But what about in Danish? What's that like?
I think it's pretty similar because we already use they, them, which in Danish would be de or dem. We already use it about a group of people, but it's not specific. So I don't know how it's different in English, but the issue in Danish is that when you talk about somebody, one person as they, them, people would assume you're talking about a group. So that's the
Mm.
only real problem we have. But it is already something, a word we use. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully this time, it will catch on a bit better than last time you tried it.
I hope so, and I really think it will turn out. But already people are so. I mean, people are so good already. It's not. I mean, I'm not even used to talking about myself in gender neutral pronouns, but people are doing it. So
Mm,
yeah, it's amazing. It happens so fast. It's nothing like last time. I can't even
mm.
compare these two. Yeah, experiences.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as I mentioned before, we know each other through the Human Library, and you did a live broadcast with the Human Library about being non binary. That was in April this year. Do you still relate to the label non binary as well?
Yes, I would say yeah, non-binary slash agender would be the most precise for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if I'm in a deep conversation about gender, in like if people I know close to me really want to know stuff, I think I might say that I just don't identify with gender at all.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, agender or non-binary would be what I would say mostly. Yeah.
mm-hmm. So the term agender, what does that mean to you?
For me, if I would explain it from my view, I would
Mm-hmm.
say normally, for example, in the human library where people borrow me, they get half an hour with me and they can ask me anything about being transgender or non-binary. Usually,
Mm-hmm.
I show it a lot with my hands, so I would make like a spectra. So in one end we have men, and the other end we have females, and then people can identify in either of the two ends, or they can
Mm-hmm.
be somewhere in the gray zone, maybe a little bit towards female, a bit towards male, maybe
Mm-hmm.
exactly in the middle, somewhere in that gray zone. But when I have to place myself in it, I wouldn't know where it would put me. So usually I make this spectrum with my hands, and then I say, I see this spectrum and I recognize it, I understand how you see it. I just feel like I'm watching it and wondering why people make this this
Mm,
gender system. So I would just place myself outside of it as a viewer,
mm.
wondering wondering about this system, and just
Yeah.
not putting myself in it. Yeah,
Mm.
it's really difficult to answer, but some it depends on the conversation. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I'm talking to perhaps an old person who doesn't even know the word transgender and it's completely new to them, I would
Mm-hmm.
probably explain to them that I'm in that gray zone. Like I'm not really any of those strangers, you know. But if I talk to a more experienced person with non-binary identities, I would probably go for this one where I say I see the gender system, but I don't identify with it, or I don't agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I
Yeah.
can be much more specific than that, because I mean I don't really know what gender I am, because I don't. I mean, if I'm not in a system, I'm not any gender.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Well, it kind of makes sense. Like you're just observing gender from a
Yeah,
distance and not feeling like that's you, like not identifying with gender
yeah,
at all. Yeah, yeah.
and don't feel like I have to decide because it's my
Mm.
gender. Yeah.
That's right. So what do you feel like? Do you feel like you're moving maybe from non-binary more to agender? That's what it sounds like. And also how do you see for yourself the difference between non-binary and agender?
Oh man, that's a really difficult question. I
Yeah.
mean, from me, and I don't know if it maybe has something to do with the language. I mean, in Danish, I would say it's pretty much the same. For
Mm.
me, at least, agender and non-binary it's already under the same umbrella,
Hmm.
talking in terms. So it's and it. I mean, because my identity is so, I mean, in a way, it's super fluid, but in a way, it's super locked. I mean, it hasn't ever changed in my whole life. Now I just
Mm.
accept it as what it is and what it is not. So
Mm.
I don't even know if I can, you know, explain that. I mean, for me, just personally, both of those words fits me. I
Hmm.
think I just personally like the sound of agender better.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, growing up, how was that for you? Have you always known you were trans?
No. So I guess I usually say like this. As a 15-year-old, I talked about myself as a transgender person. So that's when I was, speaking out loud about it. But it's kind of funny the way I figured it out, because I feel like the feeling of being trans has always, always, always been there, but it took me many years to figure out what that feeling was. And I'm sure a
Mm.
lot of trans people can relate to this. So
Hmm.
yeah, I never clicked with the guys. I never clicked with the girls. I didn't really feel like I fit into any of the groups at all. So
Mm.
I was just like one alien person who didn't fit in anyways. So I guess I'm very used to that, and I guess maybe that's why agender fits me very well. I just don't want to be in any of the groups. I'm just my
Hmm.
own little one person group. But yeah, so it's kind of funny because when I realized for myself that I was trans, I was already an expert in being transgender, because I was following a lot of YouTubers, specifically FTMs and non-binary people. And I was watching these videos and following their transition, listening to their voices, following their surgeries and everything there is to talk about, for I think
Mm.
3 years. And I watched these videos every single day, and I was just so into it. It was just like when a new episode of your favorite series comes out. I was like, every time there was a new video, I was like, oh, I have to go home and watch this. It's so important for me. And I didn't really know why. I was just super, super interested in it. And then one day, there was just one of these guys who just said the exact feeling I was feeling. And it just came like that in one day. It was like this one sentence, and I don't even remember the sentence, but it was
Mm.
just like, wow, okay, you just explained exactly how I'm feeling. So
Wow.
so then after 3 years of daily watching FTMs, I finally figured out why I was so interested in it, because that was how I felt.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was, in a way, it's really it's very smart of me, because I knew everything about what I was going into.
Yeah. Yeah. You must have learned so much.
So much. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I assume you didn't feel right in your body, since you were
No.
probably very young. Is that right?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't.
What made you decide how to change your body to fit better with your identity?
All right. So I guess I was around, yeah, I was 15 actually. I went to I guess it's called a boarding school,
Hmm.
where you live under school, yeah. And I really, really, really hated having breasts so
Hmm.
bad. And then I bought a binder, And I started just being very loud about it. I was just like, I hate having breasts. I'm gonna cut them off when I'm 18. It was just really radical. I was just saying it to everybody.
Wow.
And I've like nobody understand why, and people were like, what? No, you can't do that. And I was like, but if I don't like them, I should get rid of them, right? And then I already got surgery as a 19-year-old, and I feel like it was the decision was, it sort of came to me like over time, of course, but I think what made the decision clear for me was that I couldn't, I mean, I couldn't even see myself in a year as a female. I couldn't imagine what my life would be like 1 year ahead, but
Mm.
I could, and I could see many years ahead if I was a man. I was like, I cannot see myself getting old as a female. I'm gonna be a lady. I'm gonna be an old lady. It's not gonna happen. But
Mm.
then if I imagine, okay, but like for myself, what if I had a long beard and if I sound like a guy and look like a guy and I have a man name and all that stuff? And I was like, yeah, that's totally fine. I can imagine that. It's not a problem. It's not what I want, but it's not a problem. And then it
Mm.
just sort of solved everything, right? If I can't imagine 1 year ahead in time as a female in the body I had at that point, but I can easily see myself 30 years ahead as a man, that sort of makes the decision, right? If I like, it does make it just, yeah, it makes a lot of sense that of course I should do it.
Mm.
Yeah, that's how I decided, I guess.
Okay. I mean, how does that work in Denmark? What did you have to do to actually get into the system and, get surgery and all
Oh,
that kind of stuff?
oh my god, yes. Okay, so in Denmark we have a really shitty system. So I was advised by all the other FTMs I knew that I should never get surgery in Denmark, because
Right.
as it was at this time when I was 19, that's a lot of years ago, but at this time, what I heard from the others, I'm not sure whether it's true or not, but what I heard is that the surgeons in Denmark who performed this surgery, the removing of both breasts on transgender people, they only did this surgery 3 times a year, and it was not always the same doctor who did it. So they had very, very, very little experience.
Ah.
But then there's this hospital in Germany, which is only 1 day of traveling for me, who did this surgery 5 times a week. So, I mean, there was no question where it was going. And also, to be allowed to have this surgery in Denmark, you have to go through a long, long, long system with a long, long, long waiting list. And a lot of the times they just say no. And
Wow.
when they say no to giving you, I mean, surgery and hormone therapy and all this stuff, if they say no, you can't complain to anyone, because if you complain, the complaint goes to them. So like,
Right.
there's no higher system that can, I mean, work it out for you. So, and I just heard about so many people. I think I know somebody who went there for 7 years, once a month, and they said no.
Good
I
grief.
mean, and after that, where do you go? I mean,
Mm.
you can't do anything else in Denmark. You have to go to another fucking country.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just got the surgery way before I was on testosterone. Yeah,
Ah.
that's what I did.
Wow. So I guess that was something that you had to raise funds for yourself, like, and get money together for.
Actually, I did it all by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was tough. As a
Mm.
19-year-old in Denmark, you don't have a lot of money, so I was just, yeah,
Mhm.
I don't even remember how I did it. I just somehow it happened. And I didn't even borrow money. I think I borrowed a very, very little amount. I think I just borrowed for the trip, actually.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, and one of the nurses in the hospital, she had to help me pay for the train to get back home because I didn't have any money.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was so nice of her.
Oh, bless her. That's lovely. So how did your family feel and your parents and stuff? Were they supportive of your decision?
Oh, that's kind of a funny story. So yeah, since I told the thing about I was telling everybody about me just wanting to cut off my breast and all that stuff. So it was like everybody around me knew except my mom. So there was one day I was visiting my mom and I was complaining about not being able to afford anything. I felt like I was really poor. And she was like,
Mhm.
excuse me, have you seen your account? Because it was saving money for the operation, but she didn't know. And then it just slipped out of me. I was like, yes, I have all this money because I need surgery in 2 months. Duh. And then she was like, what? What? And I was just like, to get my boobs cut off. What do you think? And then she was just like, okay, have you thought this through? And I was just like, yes. Do you have any questions? No, good. See you. And she was just like, okay, have a nice trip. I mean,
Wow.
she was afterwards. She did have some concerns, and she was like, "Do you want me to figure out if anybody can come with you?" And I was like, "No, it's fine. I got it."
Mm.
But I think ever since I was very very small, I've been very I don't know the word, but like if I decide something, my mom knows not to discuss it with me. I
Mm.
mean, if I have decided something, that's how it's gonna be, and I will figure it out, and she knows. So I mean, if I say something this big, she just knows not to. Like, don't even bother. I've got it.
Yeah.
So she was just like, okay,
Yeah, so you're very determined.
yeah, yeah, very. So she was like, okay, have a good trip.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, she was. I
Mhm.
mean, she was. She has always been supportive, but I mean, back then nobody in Denmark knew what a transgender person was. Like, she never even heard the word before, so she didn't really
Wow.
know what she was going into. So she was
Yeah.
supportive, but she had, I mean, it took her, I think, a year to learn my new name and all that
Wow.
stuff. She was slow but supportive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great though. Yeah, that's lovely that she tried, like the
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
She's really
Yeah.
trying, and now she's super proud. She's every
Oh.
time her friends are coming over, she's like, "This is my son. He's transgender." So
Oh,
she's
that's
very
lovely.
nice, and she already learned my new name. That's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said you had your top surgery before you went on
Yeah.
testosterone. So what happened sort of when did you start hormone therapy?
Okay. So actually, also a funny story. So when I was down there getting my surgery in that hospital, they have a whole room for only transgender people.
Mhm.
So I was in that room with a bunch of other FTMs, and they were all getting their what's it called, the surgery you're getting in your stomach to get removed your, I don't know what it's called. You would know that.
You mean a hysterectomy? To have the womb,
um
like the womb and cervix and all that removed?
yes, 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 exactly. So
Yeah.
they were all there to get that done, and I was there to get my breast removed. And they were all like, but why are you not on testosterone yet? And then I explained how the Danish system works, and they were just in shock because it was so much easier for them.
Mm.
And then one of these FTMs, his boyfriend, who was also FTM, was visiting him that day, and he heard my story. And then he was like, he didn't say what he was gonna do. He just told me, "I'll talk to you tomorrow, and yeah, I'll come back tomorrow and visit you guys." And I was just like, okay, yeah, he's nice. And
Mhm.
then day after, he brought me 10, oh, I don't know what it's called, those little glasses of testosterone for me.
Oh, wow.
um so apparently in Germany, if you lose your testosterone, you just call your doctor and say, "Oh, whoops, I dropped them, or I accidentally sat on them, can you send me some more?" And they just do that. So he
Wow.
was just called his doctor, got a pack of 10, and he just gave them to me. And he was like, "You deserve them."
Oh,
So it was the weirdest experience. I came there to get surgery, and I come home with testosterone for a year.
wow.
So well, I got back home, and first of all, I wanted to heal before I did anything hormonal. And there was some issues because at this time I had a boyfriend who was also FTM,
Hmm.
and he was extremely, extremely jealous of me transitioning,
Right.
which actually ended up that I didn't take that testosterone for the first half year for him,
Wow.
which
Oh.
I shouldn't have done that. I should just have done it. But yeah, I didn't touch that testosterone because he was just so sad about it because he couldn't get any. So yeah, I didn't start taking it after half a year. Yeah, and I did that all by myself. So I went to my doctor and I said, "Hey, I've got this testosterone. It's good. It's from a doctor. I just want to know how much I should take, how often, all that stuff. Can you help me with that?" And he just said, "No, I'm not allowed to, and you shouldn't do it."
Wow.
And I said like, "Okay, but can you at least like see, like check my blood results, or like just help me, guide me a little bit? Just if you know I'm gonna do this, you could at least check the blood or check if my testosterone levels are good or bad or anything."
Mm.
And he just completely denied, and he said, "Go home, don't take it." And then I went home, and I was gonna take it anyways, of course. And then he called me a little bit later and he said, "Okay, I can't let you do this." And then he ordered a time for me at the place where you normally get testosterone in Denmark. And he
Hmm.
said that it's really urgent and they have to take me in. And then they did, even though the waiting list was so long. But I guess he just told them like this is important. He's gonna do this by himself if nobody helps him.
Wow.
So they did. Yeah,
Yeah. Amazing.
really
So did you
lucky.
then get it like through the official routes? Did you get testosterone like through the healthcare
um,
system after that?
no, actually, I didn't. So they took me in, which so this all this resulted in me just getting in there earlier than I would have done it
Yeah.
anyways.
Hmm.
So I was gonna get there anyways, but the waiting list was so long that I mean, I couldn't wait for that. So I just started taking this myself. I
Hmm.
talked to all the FTMs and non-binaries and everybody who knows anything about hormones, and I just guessed what is a good
Hmm.
way for me to do it. And of course, I guessed totally wrong, and my testosterone levels were way too high for several years.
Wow.
Um, but I did it for I think 1.5 years. And then finally, the system gave me testosterone. But even when I was on that for 4 years, my testosterone levels were very, very high. So even when they gave me testosterone, it didn't really fit me, anyways. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it was really
Wow.
fucked up for a long time.
Incredible. So, I mean, I guess they get there in the end? Did it balance out?
Finally, it did. So my last 2 or 3 results are perfect, but it's
Oh, good.
very new that it's good. Yeah, I a lot of things happened. I think 2 years ago, I had like shoulder long hair, and in one no, in half a year it just fell off completely. I lost all of my hair because
Oh,
of too
wow.
high testosterone levels. So it can fuck you up so much, but nothing's more serious than that happened actually. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was lucky. I've been so lucky the whole way through.
Yeah. And so how has it affected you, would you say, the testosterone, even though obviously it was too high at first and now it's balanced out, but like
Yeah.
how would you say it has affected you in yourself and how you feel?
So not the physical, but inside, right?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, hmm, there's this funny thing that nobody but trans people believe. So when I, like, from the moment I took my first shot of testosterone and until this very day, I just can't cry. Like, I can cry if I cut onions and if I'm really, really, really sad, but you really have to make me very sad to make me cry.
Right.
And before testosterone, I could cry over the smallest thing every day. I
Wow.
could cry. I just
Yeah.
I just can't do it any longer. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, people don't really believe it, but then when I talk to other trans people, they're like, "Yes, me too."
Yeah. Wow. And how has it affected your mood or your sense of well-being or something like that? Has it had any effect on that?
I mean, my general well-being was shit for a long time, and it makes sense now because my testosterone was completely out of balance, so everything kind of makes sense. But I'm guessing, I mean, I can't know what's from the testosterone and what's just from life, but I
Mm.
went through some periods of serious depression, and very high stress, really, really, really high stress. And also, I don't think I want to go too much into it, but I had some addiction problems as well. And I
Mhm.
really think I mean, I'm pretty sure that's from the testosterone because it really fucked me up. It
Wow.
fucked with my mood, everything. Yeah.
You mean was
Yeah. So
that
it had some,
when your testosterone was too high? Was that during that time?
yeah, exactly. It was
Ah,
very,
wow.
very high. I think I don't know if you go by other systems, but in Denmark, they told me that my testosterone level should be between 10 and 20. And
Mhm.
for many years, mine was 38. It's insanely high.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, no wonder it fucked me up.
Mm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. It's incredible the effect it has or can have, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And surprisingly, I'm completely fine today.
Yeah, yeah. So as for your gender journey, I suppose I know you've just changed your name, so
Yeah.
you've just made changes to it, I suppose. Do you feel like you're at a place where you maybe I don't know, do you have a sense of completion in your journey or do you see it evolving still and maybe forever?
I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be now, actually. Yeah, and I felt like that for a long time now. The right pronoun just came and the right name, and people are really good at doing it. So I think,
Mm.
yeah, I don't think I want to change any more things. I
Mm.
mean, I'm completely fine with my body. Yeah, I'm good now. It's good.
Mm. Oh, that's good. Lovely. So, I mean, looking back on your journey,
Yeah.
is there anything you would do differently if you had another
Oh,
chance?
well, there's the waiting for the testosterone thing. Yeah.
Mm.
If you know that you want to transition, don't let anybody stand in your way. That was stupid. He wasn't worth that.
Mm.
What else? Well, I shouldn't have done it by myself. It was a bad idea. But then again, when I was
Mm.
when I was in it, I mean, I couldn't wait, and it was just standing right there in my room, looking at me every day. I mean, there was no way I wasn't gonna do it. And I
Mm.
mean, I think from the day I started taking testosterone to the day where the people who were supposed to give me testosterone from the system, I think they went 1.5 years,
Mhm.
which is a lot of waiting when you just know you know what you want. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think I maybe I regret it, maybe I don't, because I mean I'm fine today, but I went through some very tough times because of it.
Mm. Mm. So, is there anything else you'd like people to know?
Well, I just have this thing when I talk to people about, what is gender, even how can we talk about gender, what is it? And usually cisgendered people, when I talk to people about it, they have these very binary things, ideas about what gender is. There's
Mm.
females and there's males. it's not much. There's not much more than that into it, and then I sort of asked them. I usually, if I'm in a situation where there's two cisgenders of the, same gender, I ask them about their gender values. Like, okay, so what makes you a woman? How, like, explain
Mm.
some things about that. And then I ask the other person what they put into being a woman. What does that mean for you? And very often they say different things, which is very funny because so they put themselves in exact the same category, female, but when I ask them to explain it, they don't even say the same things. So
Yeah.
what I really want to say about this is I don't believe that there's two people in the world who has the same gender, because when you dive into it, people don't even agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very funny. And my actually, if I can do a little shout out here,
Yeah.
my partner, he lives off of doing oh, what's it called? I don't know the word. It's kind of like a TED talk, but like on schools, education,
Right.
stuff like that. People can book him, and he talks
Hmm.
about gender, and specifically, he talks about what is a man, and then he asks them what is a man, and he makes people explain what's a man to them, and people don't agree. It's so funny. People
Yeah.
can't agree what even is a man. We don't know. So
Mm.
I mean, the result should just be, if you think you're a man, you are a man, and if you don't think you're a man, you're not a man. It should be as simple as that, because if we can't even label what a man is, how can you identify as one?
Yeah. I mean, that's something I've asked myself as well. Like, how did I know I was cisgender? You know,
Yeah,
and it's like, wow, that's not an easy question to answer. And there's a lot of, societal stuff and conditioning and there's
yeah,
so much behind that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And what if you don't agree to all of them, but some of them? Are you then
Yeah.
still cis, or what? Like, who defines that?
Exactly. Yeah. 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 So that's, I mean, even for me, I feel like when I do the introduction to the podcast, I say I'm a cisgender woman. And I've recently adopted the term cis queer because queer can cover
Oh,
a lot of things. It can cover gender
yes.
and sexuality and sex and all sorts of things. So I kind of like it for its wide, you know, applicability, as it were.
Yeah, it could be in.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if that will change. I might evolve my own terminology and find words or labels that better suit my identity. I don't know where that's going, but it's an interesting
Yeah,
journey for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good word.
Yeah. I think so.
Of course, I've been to a lot of these. I don't know what to call it, with my partner, and
Yeah.
usually, so he asks people like, what makes a man a man? Then some
Mm.
people say a man. He's first of all, some person might say it's a person who has a dick. Okay, well, what if his dick is cut off? Is he then still a man, or is he no
Mm.
longer a man? I mean, what
Yeah.
what if he goes to a war and it's bombed off of his body? Is he then not a man any longer? And
Right.
people don't know. And
Yeah.
then some people say, well, a man, that's a person who's married to a woman and he takes care of his children, and it's more like a masculine, macho thing that determines the manliness of them. But then
Mhm.
others disagree, and they're like, no, a man can wear a dress and he doesn't have to do anything. So
Mm.
people
Yeah.
never really agree what a man even is. So I mean, yeah, I don't know, how can I identify with a gender that nobody even agrees what is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
That's really hard to answer, isn't it? Yeah, totally.
I mean,
Mm.
cisgender people can't even agree.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's really funny. So in your attraction, you say your partner is male, is he? Or is he
Oh,
also
that's really a hard question to answer. So, publicly, he's a man. In his closer relations, he uses a female name, but he, him pronouns.
Okay.
And I think if you would ask him, he would say that he's a no man or an alien. but he passes as a cis man, and he's fine with that. But in closer relations, people know that he's super queer.
Yeah.
So very hard to define. Mostly alien. I think he would like alien.
Why not? I like alien. Add that to the gender, vocabulary. Why not?
And he's super into aliens, so I think it fits him perfectly.
Well, I mean, it's funny because Alf obviously was an alien.
Yeah, exactly. We're just two aliens.
We've come full circle.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Or do you feel complete?
I don't think I can think of anything right now.
Yeah. That's fair enough. Well, thank you so much for talking to me about all this.
Yeah, you're welcome, and thank you for having me here.
You can find out more details on the website at 50shadesofgender.com/ALF, where you can also read the transcript. Thank you for listening to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. You can find us online at 50shadesofgender.com and on social media. If you'd like to support us, please consider becoming a patron on Patreon. Plans start from only $1 a month. Visit patreon.com/50 Shades of Gender for more details. We hope you will listen again. Until then, stay curious and open-minded. Yay! I can't believe we came full circle on the alien thing. That is just brilliant.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Amazing.